Hey folks, I'm going to teach you a trick that I do with the spinning rod that allows me to shoot my bait underneath overhanging branches like this. Part of it's skipping, but the other part is something I do called feathering the line as it comes off the reel. So you're going to have an arch in the line, a big curve, and what you want to do is straighten out that curve as it's going underneath the branches. If it's going to go and basically, if you know that, it's going to hit the branch and get snagged in it, you can slow down the bait, which does two things. It makes it so you don't hit that object, but also makes it so that arch flattens out and shoots underneath it. And I'm not talking about skipping, I'm talking about really just avoiding the overhanging branch that you think you might hit, and it can just shoot underneath there. Let me show you from this direction, and I'm going to give you one shot here real quick. So I'm going to turn around so I have good sunlight to show you what I'm doing. I don't really have a target out in front that I'm trying to shoot under, but what I want you to do is watch this hand on this side of the reel as it feathers. I like doing it on longer cast, and if my long cast I can see my bait and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hit that branch, that's where this comes into play, where you feather it and it just slows it down right before it hits that overhanging branch, in a way that it can stop going like this and it can start going like this. So do you see how initially I cupped it and then tightened in on it and didn't totally grab it? It is the equivalent. And I know there's people that use baitcasters who are like, why don't you just use a baitcaster? There's a lot of different reasons. One is that I skip baits better with the spinning reel, but there's a lot of different reasons. How fast it comes off of the reel. I'm not going to get into the debate of spinning versus baitcaster. I'm just telling you, if you use a spinning reel, learn how to feather it and just put the palm of your hand right there. I'm going to give you one more that I can really slow down and you can see. I'm going to get closer so we get a better shot of what's happening. Might do a couple. All right, it's Sharpie time. Let's do some illustrations to explain maybe what I couldn't really show effectively on video. All right, so the goal here is to place a bait way up in here. So if I'm closer, say I'm in this range, I'm actually gonna shoot it in there with a skip, and it's gonna go skip, 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 boom. But when you're further out like this, you're just gonna need more power than what you can skip from that distance. And when you launch it out here, the best that you can get is gonna fall short and end up here. Okay. What the feathering does is it takes this sort of arch of your line and it actually flattens it out. So as it's traveling through the air, and this isn't much of an arch. Sometimes I have it way up here to really get the power. But what it does is that it takes that and it flattens it out. And by the time I feather it and it's somewhere in this range right here, it straightens this out so that when I get to there, it's actually gonna lower and then shoot in there. I know that seems strange, but it's sort of, what is the pitch in baseball? Is it a slider? I don't really know. I'm not a baseball guy. But I know that there's something that where it goes high and then it gets low and then shoots in under the strike zone. It's the same kind of concept. I mean, totally different mechanics, but the trajectory is an arch that lowers and then shoots in underneath something. So what happens, if I'm feathering here, when the bait is in that part of it, it's gonna get to there and it's gonna shoot under it. And by the time it's going underneath it, this line is straight and it gets to where it needs to go. Having that line straight is so critical, because when you flip the bail here, it's already, everything's taut. Everything's ready for as soon as it touches down here for, the fish that's going to come up and eat right there. You don't have a lapse in time where you can set the hook by just moving it, back in this direction. So that's it. That's the rationale behind feathering. At least for me, it was a oh crap attempt at like, hey, let's not put it here. I was actually just grabbing the line and stopping it about there, and then it went, but I realized instead of just grabbing it, if I just feather it, palm that line as it comes off right there, that it will arch and then shoot underneath stuff. And again, this is really for longer distance cast. If you're in close, just skip it. The last part of it there was that I am flipping the bail by hand. It goes naturally into to doing that. Oh, I was going to hit right in front of me. It's just a natural transition. There's a lot of advantages to doing this. The main one is you have the immediacy of being engaged for when that fish hits. The line is straight, the bail is flipped, and I swear these fish, they look to the sky and they see something coming and they meet it. They absolutely meet it. If you've fished enough, you've seen it. They just, the lure is barely wet and they're hooked.